Welcome. We now join Fred Kuhn and his guest.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Workplace Strategies. Very excited about our next guest, Barbara Limmer. Barbara has a MA in organizational psychology and emphasis in organizational development, human resource management from Columbia University, and she brings a wealth of experience to us in terms of career management, human resources, executive search. She has over 11 or 12 years of experience coaching, consulting executives and professionals to help them with their planning and achieving their career advancement strategies. Prior to career management, Barbara spent 10 years in human resources doing recruiting, interviewing, hiring, training. At the Thunderbird School of Global Management, she served as the Director of Career Management Programs and Director of Alumni and Executive Career Management. She designed and taught courses, conducted workshops and forums to help students and alumni job search preparation and success. What a career. So Barbara, welcome to Workplace Strategies.
Thank you, Fred.
Today, I've got some very serious questions that a lot of people who are in job and career transition struggle with, and that's networking. I know over your career that you have helped clients overcome the fear of networking. Where does that stem from with clients, and how does one overcome or approach their fear of networking? I mean, they say, well, I'm not good at that. I'm not good at selling myself. Don't like talking to strangers or asking other people for help, et cetera, et cetera. How do you address that?
Well, that's true. I've had so many clients say that, and even friends have said that to me. And what I suggest is that they reframe it in their mind. It's not asking for help. It's not selling themselves yet. I tell them to wear the hat of investigative journalist. And that is ask questions, learn about the other person, their career, their company, their challenges, their products. Even if you're targeting another city, you can ask about the business climate in that city. So instead of being the salesperson, be the reporter. Ask questions. Show genuine curiosity about them. So it's not about you, it's about them. And then what they're doing is you're gathering some good information and you're building rapport, you're building a relationship. And I tell clients you'd be surprised at how willing people are to help. Because the fact of the matter is people feel good about themselves when they're helping others, as long as you're asking for help that they actually can provide.
Right.
In other words, not, do you know of any jobs for me? Because then if you ask that question, chances are the answer will be no, and then both parties walk away disappointed. You walk away disappointed because, oh man, they didn't know of a job for me. And they walk away disappointed, I wish I could help you, but no, I don't know of any jobs.
So when a client comes to you and you start them out on a networking approach, what's the first thing that you have them do?
Well, when reaching out to someone, it starts by wording your messaging correctly.
Your value proposition.
Yeah, whether it be an email or messaging on LinkedIn and InMail, you have to word that correctly. So it's saying, here's a little bit about me, here's how I found you, whatever the connection is. You know, you and I are both in the XYZ group on LinkedIn together. Or I just got off the phone with so-and-so who I understand you used to work with. So here's a little bit about me. Here's how I found you. Here's the topic that I'd like to either learn more about or gain your perspective on. So yes, that requires the person to do a little bit of homework. And these days, we all have access to LinkedIn. It's a great tool to review the person's background and come up with a topic that you think not only they'd be willing to talk about, but they'd be happy to talk about. And, you know, let's face it, people like talking about themselves. So ask them about them. Or, you know, when you say, I have this topic that I'd love to get your perspective on. And then it's very important to include at the end of your email, would you be willing to have a brief conversation sometime over the next couple of weeks?
Then follow up, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise your credibility's shot.
Well, and I think, number one, here's an area where people fall down. They don't ask the question, would you be willing? And they don't end on a question mark. They say, I'd love to get your perspective. Please let me know when a good time would be. And if you're putting those words in an email to someone you don't know, chances are you won't get a response. First of all, if it doesn't end in a question mark, it's too easy to pass over because all of our inboxes are over flooded. And number two, there's no call to action if you don't end on a question mark. Number three, I think there's magic in the words, would you be willing? Because you're counting on, again, the fact that people want to help. They feel good about themselves when they are helping. But don't assume someone's going to have spare time in their day to help you. Ask if they'd be willing. And as you said, recognize you will probably need to follow up. Don't allow yourself to get disappointed by not getting a response after only one email attempt.
Yeah, it isn't, as they say, it ain't personal, just business.
Yes.
So
I've had clients say to me, Barbara, I emailed 10 people last week and I haven't gotten a single response yet. And what I say to them is, silly you for expecting only one attempt will do the trick. You have to plan your follow-ups.
What is it they say in advertising? You've got to be in front of them 7 or 8 times before.
Yeah.
I tell my clients, when the sheriff sends a cease and desist order, that's when you stop contacting. What should the goal of networking be?
You know what? I think it's all about building relationships with people, because when you do that, you can gain some very useful information. And by the way, it should be a two-way street. You might be able to provide them with some useful information and ideas as well. And then once you feel you have some level of rapport, then you can ask for ideas of other people to talk to, other companies to explore, and that's how your network can grow, where you talk to one person who refers you to someone else who refers you to someone else. That's how you tap into this thing known as the hidden job market,
Right.
where people have needs that may not be advertised. They may not even be defined as a job yet, but there's a need or a problem and they haven't figured out how to address that problem yet. But the goal is really about relationship building. It's not having people help you get a job.
Tell me, what's the best way to ask for referrals?
Well, okay, so let's fast forward to the point where you put your initial email out, you've done a couple of follow-ups, you now have the conversation, you've prepared questions to ask them, and at the end of the conversation, it's time to ask for referrals. And I think the best way to do that is to say, I'm trying to grow my network here in the XYZ space. I'm looking to identify people involved in this, or really anyone who's well connected in this area. Who do you know that might be willing to talk to me? So that's a wide open question after having stated your goal is growing your network. It's not who do you know that's hiring, or who do you know that could use my skill set. I hear that being asked a lot. Again, it's not their job to know who can use your skill set. It's who do they know that might be willing to chat. The other area that I see people fall down, and it sounds silly, you must end in a question. People say it all the time. If you can think of anyone I should be talking to, I'd appreciate the referral. That is a sentence ending in a period, not a question mark.
Correct.
You have to let that question hang, and you have to give them time to think. So you're getting referrals to other people, and any kind of takeaway. I think every conversation should result in at least 2 takeaways. Other people to talk to, other companies to explore, could be search firms to get your information to, groups to join, events to attend, business journals to review. There's all sorts of takeaways you can ask for, and that way you have action steps. It doesn't just end And I think sometimes people say, well, keep me in mind if you hear of anything. That doesn't grow your network. That gives you no action items.
Well, it gives them an excuse to get off. Oh, yeah, I will. No problem. Thank you. Yeah, glad to help you. And then they're at the supper with their family, and you're not on their table.
Exactly.
Menu discussion.
Well, and the other thing people say, here's another danger zone, if you will, where people, again, I believe most people want to help, and they don't know how to help. So they will say, tell you what, send me your resume. I'll spread it around my network. And the job seeker or the client thinks, oh, good, I now have this agent marketing me or passing around my resume. Well, then I say to clients, by the way, have you ever been the recipient of one of those emails? Oh, yeah. And if you didn't have a specific opening at that moment in time, did you even click on the attachment? No. So that isn't a good strategy, having people send around your resume. A better approach is to say, you know what, thank you. I appreciate your willingness to help, but I also know how busy you are. So who were you thinking of sending my resume to? How about if you just give me their contact info and I'll reach out personally and I'll be glad to reference you. And that way you have actionable steps to take and you're not assuming they're actually going to email people. And you're not waiting and wondering. Because I've also had clients say to me, well, Barbara, he told me 2 weeks ago he'd be sending off my resume, but I haven't heard anything. I don't want to bother him again.
Right,
you know?
right.
Again, you're left with that waiting and wondering. Better to walk away and take the names. Now, what if they say, you know, I'd really prefer to make the introductions myself? Okay, I can understand that. How about if you copy me on those emails? That way, I'll be able to follow up with them personally. And, you know, you have to be a little delicate because you have to appreciate people's willingness to help, but you also want to walk away with some action steps of your own. So even if, try as you may, they say, you know what, let me just think on this. I need to go through my contacts and figure out who would be best. Then the recommended response is, okay, I appreciate that. When would be a good time for me to follow up with you? Or better yet, how about if I touch base with you 2 weeks from today?
Yeah, the thing is, they're not going to shoot you. All they can say is no, right?
Exactly.
So once you understand it's only business, and the worst answer you can get is no, then it helps you overcome that barrier. Listen, this has been a great conversation, and would you join us again at some point to continue to talk about networking?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Today, our guest has been Barbara Limmer, a highly experienced coach who has very successful clients after they work with Barbara. Thank you very much for joining us today, Barbara.
Thank you for visiting with us. We welcome your comments and suggestions and look forward to having you join us soon at Workplace Strategies.